Right, so do you need a heart rate monitor to get fitter? Well, the answer is absolutely no. I guess a secondary question is, do you need a heart rate monitor to will a heart rate monitor help you get fitter? Well, I think almost certainly it will do. So how does that work? Well, let's look at heart rate monitors. This isn't a review of what's the best heart rate monitor, but this is just like how they work and how is it useful to you. So heart rate monitors can be usually for running, or triathlon. You have a sort of a watch-based system, and on a bike you might have a sort of computer that fits on your handlebars like this. And there are various different makes. Garmin's a popular one, Sunto, the watch I just showed you, Polar, I've used Polar as well, and they all work quite well. And basically, the newer the technology, the better they work. But everything nowadays works pretty well, so if you want to buy something off eBay or second hand, then you probably won't go too far wrong, as long as you use the normal cautionary techniques. And if you get something that doesn't work, then don't blame me, but chances are good. They're generally quite robust, and certainly personally I've stopped using them when I wanted newer technology rather than when they stopped working. So the one caveat to that is that nowadays a lot of the watch sensors, a lot of the watch monitors have an optical sensor which fits in the back of the watch, and this doesn't have one, but it basically picks up your pulse using optics in the back of the watch, and these don't work very well. I'm sure the technology is improving, but I've worked with several athletes that use the wrist-based sensor, and they're not so good. So the best system is a chest strap, which you wear around your chest. You can't quite see, sort of stand up, sort of here, and on your bare skin, and that picks up your heart rate. So that's essentially how they work. And then depending on what type of what type of watch or computer you have, then you can upload that to upload the heart rate data to the internet, and usually they have GPS data so you can get speed and various other pieces of information. How do you use them? Well, to start with, the best thing to do is to just wear it and see how you get on. Record some information, see how your heart rate behaves, run up hills, run slow, run fast, walk, and stop, and see what happens. And what you'll find is that the harder you go, the higher your heart rate. So that's the basic principle of it all. So the way they work, or the way you would use it in training, is you plan to do a certain training session, and that would have a given intensity, and your heart rate could be used to make sure you're working at a planned intensity. Often the best use of a heart rate monitor is to make sure you're not working too hard, so that you do your easy training easy, and then your hard training you basically might do as hard as you can. So you don't need your heart rate to tell you that, you just need to avoid being sick, I suppose. So you may have heard of people talking about heart rate zones. Heart rate zones are zones that split how hard you're running or cycling or whatever you're doing into various levels or zones, basically. So and there are various numbers of zones and various types of zones, and you can look on the internet to check out how different the different zones. But in fact, you could look on my website, and I've written an article on heart rate monitors. You could do that by searching the link JH Coaching / heart rate, and that's JH Coaching / heart rate. And so if we take a simple example, most of your exercise is at a fairly low intensity, which would be a pace that you could hold a conversation at, and that would be your heart rate zone 1 or zone 2, depending on what method you use. So once you've established that, you go out and you do your training, and you keep an eye on your heart rate, and make sure you don't go above a certain level. The most important thing really is to make sure that this endurance type training is at an endurance type pace, and you're not compromising any of your harder work. If we just work with 3 typical zones, which is most applicable to the sort of endurance athlete, then the second most important type of training would be a lot of people call tempo or sweet spot, which is basically a pace that you can work out for quite a long time. If you want to know what it feels like, it feels slightly unpleasant, like a sort of mild toothache, I guess. You have to concentrate to keep going at this pace, but you can keep going. So it's like, oh, I'm tired, but I can keep doing it. And that would be your zone 3, or in some systems your zone 3 or 4, and you can and you just then same sort of thing, keep an eye on your watch or your computer, or you can set alarms on some of the devices, and you do your training, and get your information and have a look at it if you've got that sort of facility. And then perhaps the third, the highest intensity training, which you would do less of, but makes arguably the biggest difference, is training at an effort level that you can't sustain for very long. So something you might be able to manage for 5 minutes or something, or 4 to 6 minutes, which has the biggest influence on your VO2 max. You might have heard of that metric. And so that's typically above 90% of your maximum heart rate. And if you want to get your maximum heart rate, just go and run up a hill as hard as you possibly can, have a short break, and then run another 100 metres or so as hard as you possibly can, and have a look at what the highest number is, or when you get back, upload the data and see what maximum heart rate you got to. And then you can set the zones based on your maximum heart rate using various calculators. Training Peaks is a way of doing it, and on my website there's a description of how to do all that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, hope you found it useful, and as I say, go to that link where I wrote that blog article, JH Coaching / heart rate, and enjoy. Okay, bye.